AITA for having my stepbrother's cars towed after he ignored 6 months of warnings? /am is asshole. 27M, never thought I'd be posting here, but after what happened last weekend and my family's reaction, I genuinely need some outside perspective. This situation has been building for 6 months, and I'm being painted as the villain for finally enforcing boundaries. Background. I'm a pharmacy technician, and I've been working at the same hospital pharmacy for 5 years. It's not glamorous work, but I'm good at it, I like my co-workers, and the benefits are solid. More importantly, I've been incredibly disciplined with my finances since I graduated from my certification program. While my friends were leasing cars they couldn't afford and renting expensive apartments downtown, I was living with roommates, driving a paid-off Honda Civic, and putting away money every single month. Last year, all that discipline finally paid off. I closed on a small ranch house in a nice neighborhood about 20 minutes from the hospital. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a decent backyard, and, this is relevant, a brand new concrete driveway that the previous owner had poured just before listing the house. The neighborhood has an HOA, which I know Reddit loves to hate, but honestly, this one is pretty reasonable. The fees are $150 a month, and they maintain the common areas, handle snow removal, and keep the neighborhood looking nice. More importantly, the HOA is the reason property values in this area have actually increased over the past decade. The house was a stretch for me financially. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I put down 10% and my mortgage payment is about 35% of my take-home pay, which is higher than the recommended 28%, but I ran the numbers, and I can make it work as long as I'm careful. The point is, this house represents nearly a decade of sacrifice and careful planning. It's the first thing that's ever truly been mine. Enter my stepbrother, Derek, 24M. My mom married Derek's dad, Paul, 52M, when I was 15 and Derek was 12. I'll be honest, Derek and I were never close. We're very different people. I'm risk-averse, methodical, and I like having a plan. Derek is impulsive, always chasing the next big thing, and has never held a job for longer than 8 months. He's not a bad person, but he makes terrible decisions and never faces consequences because Paul always bails him out. Derek's current obsession is flipping cars. He watched some YouTube videos, decided he was going to buy cheap cars, fix them up, and sell them for profit. The problem is that Derek has no mechanical skills, no tools, no garage, and no follow-through. He lives in an apartment complex that doesn't allow him to work on vehicles in the parking lot. The initial request. About 6 months ago, Derek called me out of the blue. We hadn't talked in months, we're not close, remember, and suddenly he's asking if he can park his project car in my driveway, just for a couple weeks, while he figures out where to work on it. The car was a 2003 Mitsubishi Eclipse he'd bought for $800 at an auction. I should have said no right then. I know that now. But he's family, and he promised it would only be 2 weeks, and I thought maybe this would be a chance for us to bond or something. So I said yes, with clear conditions, 2 weeks maximum. He needed to put something under the car to catch any drips, and he needed to be actively working on getting it moved. Derek showed up the next day with the Eclipse on a flatbed. The car was rough, faded paint, cracked windshield, and when they unloaded it, it left a trail of fluid on my brand new driveway. I pointed this out to Derek immediately. "It's just a driveway," he said, shrugging. "It'll wash off." It did not wash off. That oil stain is still there 6 months later, a dark reminder of my mistake in trusting him. The escalation. The 2 weeks passed. Then 3 weeks. Then a month. Every time I asked Derek about moving the car, he had an excuse. He was waiting on parts. He hadn't found a garage yet. He was between jobs and couldn't afford to rent a space. His dad was going to help him, but Paul was busy. Always something. Then, one Saturday morning about 2 months after the Eclipse arrived, I woke up to find a second car in my driveway. A 1998 Honda Prelude, primer gray, with a missing bumper and what looked like a mouse nest visible through the back window. Derek hadn't asked. He hadn't warned me. He'd just shown up in the middle of the night and dropped off another broken-down car. I called him immediately. "Bro, relax," he said. "I got an amazing deal on it. I couldn't pass it up. It's just temporary." "Derek, you can't just drop cars at my house without asking. You didn't even tell me." "I didn't want to wake you up. I'll move them both soon, I promise. I'm close to finishing the Eclipse." He wasn't close to finishing the Eclipse. In the 2 months it had been sitting there, Derek had visited maybe 4 times, spent a couple hours poking around under the hood, and accomplished nothing visible. The car hadn't moved an inch. I told him he needed to move at least one of the cars within a week. He agreed. The week passed. Nothing happened. The first HOA notice. About 3 weeks after the Prelude appeared, I got a letter from the HOA. It was polite but firm. I had vehicles on my property that appeared to be inoperable, which violated Section 7.3 of our community guidelines. Inoperable vehicles needed to be stored in a garage or removed from the property. I had 14 days to remedy the situation, or I'd receive a $150 fine. I forwarded the letter to Derek. His response: a laughing emoji and, "Those HOA Karens need to get a life." I wasn't laughing. I called him and explained the situation clearly. The HOA wasn't joking. These fines would keep coming, and they could eventually put a lien on my house if I didn't pay them. This wasn't about being uptight. This was about protecting my home. Derek sighed heavily, like I was the one being unreasonable. Fine, fine. I'll figure something out. He didn't figure anything out. 2 weeks later, I received my first fine, $150. I paid it because I had no choice, but I told Derek he was going to reimburse me. He said he would. He never did. Update 1. Things get worse. 3.5 months in, and I had 2 project cars in my driveway, a $150 fine on my record, a growing oil stain on my concrete, and a stepbrother who wouldn't return my calls half the time. Then it got worse. I came home from a 12-hour shift one Tuesday evening to find a third car. A 1995 Nissan 240SX, red, with a cracked dashboard visible through the dirty windows and rust eating through the quarter panels. It was parked on the street directly in front of my house, but the front wheels were turned and it was clearly positioned to be pushed into my driveway later. I didn't even bother calling Derek this time. I drove straight to his apartment. He answered the door in sweatpants, looking annoyed that I'd interrupted whatever he was doing. "What's up?" "There's a third car at my house. A red Nissan." "Oh yeah. Dude, I got such a good deal on that one. The guy basically gave it to me because he needed it gone. The 240SX is a classic." One sigh. "No." I cut him off. "Absolutely not. You're not bringing another car to my house. You haven't touched the first 2 in months. I've already gotten fined once. This ends now." Derek rolled his eyes. Actually rolled his eyes at me. "Why are you being like this? It's just cars. They're not hurting anyone. They're hurting me. I'm getting fined. My driveway has oil stains that will probably never come out completely. And I can't even park my own car in my driveway half the time because your project cars are taking up all the space. So park on the street. It's not a big deal." I took a breath. I was not going to lose my temper. "Derek, I'm giving you formal notice. You have 30 days to remove all 3 cars from my property, or I'm having them towed." He laughed. Actually laughed in my face. "You won't do that. Dad would lose his mind. Then Dad can let you store them at his place." I left without saying anything else. When I got home, I composed a formal text message laying out everything. The 30-day deadline, the requirement that he reimburse me for the HOA fine, and the consequences if he didn't comply. I screenshotted the conversation and saved it. Update 2. The family gets involved. 2 days after my confrontation with Derek, I got a call from Paul. I'd been expecting this. "Hey, buddy," Paul said, in that voice he uses when he's about to ask for something or lecture me. "Derek tells me you two had a little disagreement." That's one way to describe it. Look, I know Derek can be a lot sometimes, but he's really trying to get his life together with this car flipping thing. Can't you cut him some slack? He's family. Paul, I have cut him slack. It's been 3.5 months. He's brought 3 cars to my property without asking permission for 2 of them. I've been fined by my HOA. He hasn't reimbursed me. He hasn't moved a single car. There was a pause. I didn't know about the fine. I've told Derek multiple times. I forwarded him the letter. Well, I'm sure he just forgot. He's got a lot going on. The point is, you're in a position to help family, and you're choosing not to. That's disappointing. I felt my jaw clench. I am helping. I let him use my driveway when he asked. He took advantage of that. There's a difference between helping family and being taken advantage of. Paul's tone shifted. You know, ever since you bought that house, you've changed. You've become materialistic. It's just a driveway, for God's sake. Just concrete. Your brother needs support right now, and you're worried about concrete. Stepbrother, I said quietly. And it's not just concrete. It's my home. The only thing I've ever owned. And I'm being fined because of his cars. Those HOA fines are ridiculous anyway. You shouldn't have moved somewhere with an HOA if you didn't want rules. That's when I knew this conversation was pointless. Paul, I've given Derek 30 days. That's more than fair. If the cars aren't gone by then, I'm having them towed. I wanted to let you know so there are no surprises. You're going to regret being this petty, Paul said coldly, and hung up. I sat in my kitchen for a long time after that call, second-guessing myself. Was I being materialistic? Was I overreacting about a driveway? Then I walked outside and looked at the 3 vehicles cluttering my property. The Eclipse with a cracked windshield and the oil stain beneath it. The Prelude with the missing bumper. The 240SX, now pushed fully into my driveway, with its rust and its cracked dashboard. I thought about the money I'd saved, the sacrifices I'd made, the double shifts and the roommates and the years of delayed gratification. No. I wasn't being materialistic. I was being disrespected. Update 3. The documentation phase. I'm nothing if not methodical. If this was going to escalate, and I was increasingly sure it would, I needed documentation. Over the next few weeks, I did the following. 1. I photographed all 3 cars extensively, including the license plates, the visible damage, and the oil stains they were creating. I timestamp backed these photos using a free app. 2. I kept a detailed log of every conversation I had with Derek and Paul about the cars, including dates, times, and what was said. 3. I researched my HOA-specific policies on abandoned/inoperable vehicles and confirmed the process for having vehicles towed from private property in my state. 4. I sent Derek another formal written notice via certified mail. Yes, I mailed a letter to my own stepbrother, stating that the vehicles were unauthorized, that he had until a specific date to remove them, and that failure to do so would result in towing at his expense. 5. I researched local towing companies and got quotes for removing inoperable vehicles. I found one that specialized in exactly this type of situation and had good reviews. During this time, Derek made 0 effort to move the cars. 0. He didn't visit to work on them. He didn't arrange for transport. He didn't even acknowledge my certified letter, though the tracking showed it was delivered and signed for. What he did do was talk trash about me to anyone who would listen. According to my mom, who was trying desperately to stay neutral, Derek was telling everyone that I was power-tripping over my crappy little house, and that I was jealous of his entrepreneurial ambitions. Paul apparently agreed and was telling family members that I'd become money-obsessed and forgotten what really matters. I got texts from a few relatives during this period. Some were supportive. My Aunt Carol told me she thought Derek was taking advantage and I was right to set boundaries. Others were less so. My cousin Jake told me I was being kind of a dick about some cars. The 30 days passed. Then 45. I was now 5 months into this nightmare, had received a second HOA fine, another $150, which I paid and documented, and had 3 derelict vehicles in my driveway. I scheduled the tow for the following Saturday. Update 4. The towing day. I won't pretend I wasn't nervous. I barely slept the night before. Part of me still hoped Derek would come through at the last minute, that I'd wake up Saturday morning and the cars would just be gone, and we could pretend this whole thing never happened. They weren't gone. At 9 a.m., the tow truck arrived. I'd arranged for a flatbed that could take multiple vehicles. The driver, a guy named Marcus, was professional and efficient. He'd done this before and knew exactly what to do. Before anything was hooked up, I showed Marcus my documentation. Photos proving the cars had been there for months, the certified mail receipt, the HOA violation letters, my property deed proving I owned the property. He reviewed everything, nodded, and got to work. The first car, the Eclipse, was being loaded when Derek's Camry came screeching around the corner. He jumped out before the car was even fully stopped. "What the hell are you doing?" "Those are my cars." I stayed calm. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head 100 times. "I gave you 6 months of warnings, Derek. Written notices, certified mail, in-person conversations. You chose to ignore all of it. You can't do this. This is theft." Marcus paused, looking between us. I handed him a copy of my documentation packet. "It's not theft. These vehicles have been abandoned on my private property for months. I have the legal right to remove them." Derek whipped out his phone. "I'm calling the cops." "Go ahead." He did. While we waited, the Eclipse finished loading. Derek was pacing, alternating between threatening me and pleading with Marcus to stop. Marcus, to his credit, stayed professional and kept working. The police arrived about 20 minutes later. 2 officers, calm and clearly experienced with these types of disputes. Derek immediately started talking over them, claiming I was stealing his property, that this was illegal, that I was going to jail. The officers listened patiently, then turned to me. I showed them my documentation. The deed proving ownership of the property. The certified letter proving Derek had been given written notice. The HOA violations proving this had been an ongoing issue. The photographs with timestamps proving the cars had been there for months. The senior officer reviewed everything carefully, then turned to Derek. "Sir, these vehicles have been on private property without permission for an extended period. The property owner followed proper legal procedures for removal. This is a civil matter, and the tow is lawful." Derek exploded. "This is insane. He's my brother." "Stepbrother," I said quietly. "Sir," the officer said firmly, "if you have a dispute about the vehicles or any associated costs, you'll need to pursue that in civil court. But this tow is proceeding lawfully." Derek turned to me, his face red with anger. "You're dead to me. You understand that? Over some stupid cars? You're choosing property over family." I looked at him for a long moment. "No, Derek. You're choosing project cars you never intended to fix over respecting the one thing I've ever owned. You had 6 months. 6 months of me asking nicely, then asking firmly, then begging, then warning. You made this choice, not me." The tow truck took all 3 cars. The Eclipse, the Prelude, the 240SX. I gave Derek the information for the towing company and the impound lot, told him he could retrieve them if he paid the towing and storage fees. He left without another word. Update 5. The Aftermath. It's been 3 weeks since the towing. Here's where things stand. Derek hasn't retrieved the cars. The impound lot called me last week to let me know that if the vehicles aren't claimed soon, they'll be auctioned off for salvage. I passed the message along to Derek via text. He didn't respond. Paul has completely cut me off. He blocked my number and apparently told my mom that I'm not welcome at any family events he hosts. My mom is caught in the middle, trying to maintain relationships with both sides, and I feel terrible about that. The extended family is split. Some think I did the right thing. Others think I went too far. Thanksgiving is going to be interesting. My HOA situation is resolved. I submitted documentation showing I had removed the vehicles, and they've closed the violation cases. I'm still out $300 in fines, which Derek never reimbursed, but at least no new fines are accumulating. The oil stain is still there. I've tried multiple degreasers and pressure washing, but there's still a shadow where the Eclipse sat. A constant reminder. I'm considering having that section of the driveway resurfaced eventually, but that'll cost money, so it's on the back burner. Emotionally, I'm in a weird place. I don't regret what I did. I know it was the right decision. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't sad about how everything went down. Derek and I were never close, but we were cordial. Now we're nothing. And Paul, he was never going to be my dad, but we got along okay. Now that's gone too. Here's the thing that gets me the most. Derek never apologized. Not once, through this entire 6-month ordeal. Not when he dropped off the second car without asking. Not when I got fined. Not when I got fined again. Not when I gave him a 30-day warning. Not even when the cops showed up and confirmed that I was legally in the right. He still thinks he's the victim. Some people have suggested I should have just let it go, that family is more important than property, that it was just a driveway. But here's my perspective. If Derek respected me at all, he would never have put me in that position. He would have honored the original 2-week agreement. He would have asked before bringing more cars. He would have apologized when I got fined. He would have taken the 30-day warning seriously. He did none of those things because, in his mind, I don't matter. My property doesn't matter. My sacrifices don't matter. The only thing that matters is what Derek wants, when Derek wants it. And his father enabled that attitude every step of the way. Every time Derek faced consequences growing up, Paul stepped in and made it go away. And now Paul is furious that I didn't do the same. I keep thinking about what Paul said, that I'd become materialistic. That I cared more about concrete than family. But I don't think that's true. I think I care about respect. About boundaries. About people keeping their word. Derek didn't just park cars in my driveway. He lied to me repeatedly, ignored my concerns, cost me money, and then called me the bad guy for finally enforcing a boundary. If caring about those things makes me materialistic, then I guess I'm materialistic. So, Reddit, AITA for having my stepbrother's cars towed after 6 months of warnings, 2 HOA fines, and countless ignored requests? Edit. Since people are asking, here are some additional details. Yes, I've consulted a lawyer about the possibility of suing Derek for the HOA fines and driveway damage. The lawyer said I'd probably win, but the cost of pursuing it would exceed what I'd recover, so it's not worth it financially. No, Derek doesn't have substance abuse issues that I'm aware of. He's just entitled and never learned that actions have consequences. Yes, my mom knows about all of this. She's been supportive of me privately but won't publicly take sides because she's trying to keep her marriage intact. I understand her position, even if I wish she'd speak up more. The cars were definitely inoperable. The Eclipse had a seized engine. The Prelude had a blown head gasket. The 240SX wouldn't start at all. These weren't cars that just needed a battery charge. They were legitimate project vehicles that would require thousands of dollars and significant mechanical expertise to make roadworthy. For those asking, no, I don't feel guilty. I feel sad about the family rift, but not guilty. I did everything I could to resolve this peacefully before resorting to the tow. Derek chose this outcome, not me. Final update. Just got off the phone with my mom. The cars were auctioned off by the impound lot yesterday. Derek is apparently devastated and blaming me, saying I destroyed his dream of becoming a car flipper. Paul called my mom to yell about it, saying I should pay Derek back for the value of the cars. I'm not paying Derek anything. Those cars were worth maybe $1,500 total in the condition they were in, and he never spent a dime working on them. His dream was sitting in my driveway collecting dust and costing me money. I told my mom I love her, that I'm sorry she's in the middle, and that I hope things calm down eventually. But I'm not apologizing for protecting my home. I'm not apologizing for enforcing boundaries that should never have needed enforcing. My driveway is empty now. My HOA is satisfied. My mortgage gets paid on time every month because I'm careful with money, because I plan ahead, because I don't make impulsive decisions based on YouTube videos. Maybe that makes me boring. Maybe that makes me materialistic. But it also makes me a homeowner who doesn't have to answer to anyone about what sits in his own driveway. And honestly, that feels pretty good.